So now after you finish the face, we're going to go ahead and start closing the head and making the neck before we make the cheeks. So you're just going to go right where you left off, and then you're going to place your yarn marker right where you left off on the back of the head, and you're going to make 1 single crochet into 9 stitches. So go ahead and make 1 single crochet into 9 stitches and then come back. So after you make 1 single crochet into 9 stitches, then you're going to make your decrease stitch or single crochet 2 stitches together. So you just take your crochet hook, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch over, and then bring up a loop. So you have 3 loops on the hook. Go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a single crochet 2 stitches together. And you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. Make 1 single crochet into 9 stitches and then single crochet 2 stitches together, repeating that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So now you should have 60 stitches in the round. And the reason why I call it a decrease round is because you just decreased the number of stitches in the round. Now, for the next round, you're just going to take and move the yarn marker up to where you left off, and you're only going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for 1 round. So 1 round of only 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Then, when you get back to where you started, go ahead and move the yarn marker up, and this next round will be a decrease round. And for this decrease round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 8 stitches. So 1 single crochet into 8 stitches. After you finish the 1 single crochet into 8 stitches, then you're going to single crochet 2 stitches together or make your decrease stitch. So you're going to go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on the hook. Go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through all 3 for a decrease stitch or single crochet 2 stitches together. And then you're going to repeat this pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker, 1 single crochet into 8 stitches, and then single crochet 2 stitches together, repeating that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So then after that round, you should have a total of 54 stitches in the round. Then just move the yarn marker up to where you left off, and for 1 round you're just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So 1 single crochet in every stitch around for 1 round, and then come back. Then the next round will be your last decrease round, and you're going to make 1 single crochet into 7 stitches and then single crochet 2 stitches together. Then repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So this is how my work looks now. You see how you have a gradual curve inwards that forms the neck, and you should have a total of 48 stitches in the round. Then just move your yarn marker up to where you left off, and then you're just going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch around for 22 rounds. So 22 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. After you finish 1 single crochet into every stitch for 22 rounds, and this is how mine looks, then you're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch over, and then you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the head onto the body. So for now, we're going to set the head aside while I show you how to make the body. So for the body, you're going to start with the same magnolia way or beige color, and we're going to start with a magic circle. just like you've done before. So we're going to start with the slip knot, and then you're going to place 6 single crochet into the magic circle. Then you're going to close up the magic circle, and then turn your work, because we're going to work in rounds just like we've done before. And now you're going to make 2 single crochet into every stitch around until you have a total of 12 stitches in the round. So 2 single crochet in every stitch around until you have a total of 12 stitches in the round, and then come back. Then you can take and close the center of the magic circle if you need to. And then we're going to make our increase rounds, which means we're going to be increasing the number of stitches in the round. For those of you that already know how to make the increase rounds, it's going to be 1 single crochet into 12 stitches and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch. That's what we're increasing to. And we're going to increase in chronological order, just like we did for the head. So for the first increase round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and then 2 single crochet into the second stitch. You're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So if you remember, we started with the 6 single crochet in the magic circle. So that means that you're going to add 6 to the previous stitch count to get the stitch count for the row that you just completed. So we know that our last stitch count was 12. If you add 6 to that, that means that you should have 18 total stitches after completing that round, which I do. And that's how you get the stitch count. So I'm not going to be telling you the stitch count after each round. Then, after you finish that increase round, just move your yarn marker up to where you left off. And for this increase round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So 1 single crochet into 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. Then for the next increase round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 3 stitches, and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch, repeating that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So now you should see the pattern that we have. We're going in chronological order. First we started with 1 and then 2, 2 and then 2, 3 and then 2, and now it's 1 single crochet into 4 stitches and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch, repeating that pattern all the way around. So now you can see the pattern. This next one is going to be 1 single crochet into 5 stitches and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch, repeating that pattern all the way around. And you're going to continue in chronological order. So the next one will be 1 and 6, then 1 and 7 and then 2, 1 and 8 and then 2, all the way until you get to 1 single crochet into 12 stitches and then 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and then come back. Now you should have a total of 84 stitches in the round, and this is how my work looks. Then just take and move your yarn marker up, and then you're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch around for 45 rounds. So 45 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So after you finish your 45 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch, you should have a large tube for the body completed. And go ahead and add some craft stuffing. And you're going to continue to add craft stuffing as we make our decrease stitch rounds. So we're going to be gradually decreasing the number of stitches in the round. So for your first decrease round, go ahead and place your yarn marker right where you left off, and you're going to make one single crochet into the next 12 stitches. So one single crochet into 12 stitches and then come back. So after you make the one single crochet into 12 stitches, then you can single crochet 2 stitches together. Just go right into the next stitch, bring up a loop, go into the next stitch and bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through all 3 for your decrease stitch or single crochet 2 stitches together. And you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker, 1 single crochet into 12 stitches and then single crochet 2 stitches together. So now you should have 78 stitches in the round, and if you remember, the previous round had 84 stitches, and if you subtract 78 from 84, it's 6. So now for the decrease rounds, all you have to do is subtract 6, and then you'll know what your stitch count should be for the next round. And we're going to be decreasing in chronological order. So since the last decrease round was 1 single crochet into 12 stitches, this decrease round will be 1 single crochet into 11 stitches. So after you make your 1 single crochet into 11 stitches, then you're going to single crochet 2 stitches together for the decrease stitch, and then you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker, 1 single crochet into 11 stitches and then single crochet 2 stitches together, repeating that pattern all the way around. Then for the next decrease round, you're going to make 1 single crochet into 10 stitches and then single crochet 2 stitches together, repeating that pattern all the way around back to the yarn marker. So by now you can see that I'm just decreasing in order. So now this next one is going to be 1 single crochet into 9 stitches and then single crochet 2 stitches together. Then repeat that pattern all the way around to the yarn marker, and then you just keep decreasing. The next one will be 1 and 8 and then single crochet 2 together, then 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. When you get down to 1 single crochet and then single crochet 2 stitches together, come back and then I'll help you finish closing the body. So I just finished the last round, which is 1 single crochet into 1 stitch and then single crochet 2 stitches together, and this is what my work looks like so far. Then you can just remove your yarn marker and you're just going to make single crochet 2 stitches together until you're almost closed. So go ahead and make single crochet 2 stitches together until you're almost closed, and then I'll show you how to slip stitch it closed. So now you can see that I'm almost closed. So what you're going to do is just skip a stitch, go into the next stitch, and then yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. And you're going to continue to slip stitch all the way around until the opening is completely closed. So one more should do it, one more slip stitch. Then I'm going to go ahead and finish off, just yarn over, and then just pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Then just take your tapestry needle or darning needle, put it onto the loose yarn end, and then just go right in where you finished off and then come out anywhere, and then that buries your loose yarn end into the work. Go ahead and just trim it, and then this is how the end of the body should look. So now this is how the body looks, and you can go ahead and set it aside for now. We're going to return to the head and make the cheeks and the ears for the head. So now we're going to go back to the head. I'm going to show you how to make the cheeks. To make the cheeks, you're going to start with your main colored yarn, and mine is the Magnolia Way or beige colored yarn. And you're going to fold the yarn over on itself to form a loop. Take your crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and your thumb. Then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, go through the loop for a slip knot. Go ahead and cinch that knot down and then cinch the loop around your crochet hook. And then you're going to make a chain of 10. I'm just going to show you 4 on video tutorial. Just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead, finish a chain of 10 and then come back. So after you have your chain of 10, then you're going to make a single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So you just count back from the hook, 1 and 2, and then take your crochet hook, go into that second chain from the hook, and then bring up a loop, and then make your single crochet. And then you're just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch back across, except for the last stitch. In the last stitch, you're going to make 3 single crochet into the same stitch. So now I have 1 stitch remaining. I'm going to be making 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and as you make the 3 single crochet into that same stitch, go ahead and start turning it, because we're going to be working in rounds and we're going to be working on the opposite side. And I'm going to be burying that loose yarn end as I crochet. So here is where we made our single crochet stitches, and now we made 3 single crochet stitches into the same stitch on the end, and now you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch and go behind the loose yarn end, bring up a loop, make your single crochet, and then you're just going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch back across on the opposite side except for the last stitch. In the last stitch, you're going to make 3 single crochet into the same stitch. So I'm just going to work this with you. After I make a couple more single crochet stitches, I'm going to go ahead and cut my loose yarn end. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut it, get it out of the way. It's nice and buried. Then you can continue. I have 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then I'm going to make 3 single crochet into the last stitch on the end. And then that will complete the round. So now I have 21 stitches in the round. I'm going to take my yarn marker, place it right where I left off. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch until you reach the stitch on the end. So you can see that there's a stitch on the end. You're going to make 1 single crochet into each of the stitches until you get to the stitch on the end. So I have 1 single crochet into 9 stitches, and that brings me to the stitch on the end. The stitch on the end, you're going to make 2 single crochet into the same stitch. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and every stitch except for the last stitch before the yarn marker. The last stitch before the yarn marker, you're going to make 2 single crochet into the same stitch. So now you can see that I have 1 stitch remaining before the yarn marker. I'm going to make 2 single crochet into the same stitch, and that will finish this round. So now I've finished that round with a total of 23 stitches. Go ahead and move the yarn marker up, And again, we're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch except for now we have 2 stitches on the end, 1 and 2. So those 2 stitches, you're going to make 2 single crochet into each of those stitches. But you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch and every stitch until you reach those 2 stitches on the end. So I made 1 single crochet into each of the 9 stitches, and that brings me to the 2 stitches on the end. I'm going to make 2 single crochet into each of those stitches on the end. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and you're going to make 1 single crochet into each stitch until you reach the last 2 stitches before the yarn marker. So now I have 2 stitches remaining before the yarn marker. I'm going to make 2 single crochet into each of those last 2 stitches. And then that finishes that round. So now you should have 27 stitches in the round. And you're going to move the yarn marker up, and again you're going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch and 1 single crochet into every stitch until you reach the 2 stitches on the end. So that would be 1 single crochet into 10 stitches, and then that will bring you to the 2 stitches on the end. So now I made 1 single crochet into each of the 10 stitches. Now I have the 2 stitches on the end. I'm going to make 2 single crochet into each of those stitches. And then I'm going to make 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and I'm going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch until I reach the 2 stitches on the opposite end. So now you'll have a stitch before the yarn marker, and then you have the 2 stitches on the end. So when you have 3 stitches remaining, come back and then I'll work those last 3 stitches with you. So 1 single crochet into every stitch except for the last 3 stitches. Go ahead and leave those last 3 stitches unworked. So now I have 3 stitches remaining. I'm going to make 2 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then that leaves me with 1 remaining stitch. I'm going to make 1 single crochet into the remaining stitch. Then you can remove your yarn marker and then just make a slip stitch into the next stitch over. Just yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then go ahead and finish off, just yarn over and then pull enough yarn through to sew the cheek in place on the head. So before we do that, we need the little pink portion that goes on the cheek. So now go ahead and grab your pink color or whatever color you want for your cheeks, the main portion of the cheeks, and we're going to start with the magic circle. So I'm going to drape the yarn across my 4 fingers, use the thumb to stabilize, and then wrap the yarn around my 2 middle fingers and then hold it in place with my pinky and my thumb. And then just take and bring up a loop and then yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for a slip knot. Then you're going to make 6 single crochet into the magic circle. Then just hold the bottom of the 6 single crochet with your forefinger and your thumb. You have these 2 loops on the opposite side. Go ahead and pull on one. If it doesn't close, let go and pull on the other one, but this one is closing. Then take the loose yarn end and pull on that. And then just turn your work. We're going to be working in rounds, and you're going to go into the first stitch in the round. And then you're going to make 2 single crochet into every stitch around until you have a total of 12 stitches in the round. So 2 single crochet in every stitch until you have a total of 12 stitches in the round, and then come back. Then after you have 12 stitches in the round, go ahead and make a slip stitch into the next stitch. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and then bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then go ahead and finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the cheek in place. And if you need to, you can close the center of the magic circle by turning it over and then just pulling on the loose yarn end on the back. So now you have your cheek ready to sew in place. So for mine, I sewed the cheek. Make sure you have the right side facing you. So it has a natural curve. So the natural curve is the right side. So this is the right side. So then I have the right side facing up. And I usually take and sew the loose yarn end on the back of the magic circle first, the smaller one. And I usually put the cheek on the opposite side of where I finished off. So I'm going to put it on this side, just center it right. You can see where the end of our initial chain was, the beginning round. You want to go right into that center. Then you can take the other long loose yarn end that you left for sewing, position the cheek in place, make sure it's centered. Then just take your tapestry needle or darning needle and then just take and sew all around the border of the circle. And just sew it in place. And then just tie a knot on the wrong side when you're finished, and then just trim the loose yarn ends. So now go ahead and make 2 of them the exact same way. You need a total of 2. So now go ahead and take craft stuffing and just stuff the head portion only so that we can get the shape of the head before we place the cheeks. Then you can take just a little bit of craft stuffing and place it right into the cheek. And then you're going to take your tapestry needle and place it right through the long end that you left for sewing. And then you're going to position the cheek in place. And you want the cheek portion to be positioned where you want the cheek to be on the head. And then once you have it positioned where you want it, then you're just going to take and sew all around the border of the cheek. So you just go in and out. Make sure that you push the craft stuffing in and don't lose the position of the cheek. And then you just go in and out along the edge with your tapestry needle. And then just sew it in place. And then just make sure that you position it again, make sure that it's not crooked. So for mine, I sewed around a couple of times, and then I'm going to finish off towards the bottom. And then you just want to tie a knot towards the bottom of the cheek. I like to go through twice. Make sure I have a good knot. Then you can take and bury the loose yarn in, and I'm just going to go right up into the cheek to bury the loose yarn end. And then you can trim the loose yarn end and then fix your cheek. So I have one cheek in place, and now before you sew your other cheek on, you have to make sure that they're symmetrical. So you want both cheeks to be even. So this pink portion needs to line up straight across from the other cheek. You don't want one cheek to be down here or up high. You want it to be exactly symmetrical with the other cheek. So this is what mine looks like after I have my cheeks in place. And now I'm going to show you how to make the ears. So now I'm going to show you how to make the ears. For the ears, for one ear, you're going to need a beige colored or the main colored portion for the ear, and you'll need the pink inner portion of the ear. So I've already made two of the beige and one of the pink, and on video tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this with the pink colored yarn. Now to make the ears, you're going to take either the pink color or the beige color, and then you're going to fold the yarn over on itself to form a loop. And then take your crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and your thumb, go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for a slip knot. Go ahead and cinch that knot down and then cinch the loop around the crochet hook, and then you're going to make a chain. So we're going to make a chain of 12, but I'm just going to show you 4 chains on video tutorials. You just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. So go ahead, finish a chain of 12 and then come back. So after you finish your chain of 12, you're going to make a single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So you just count back 1, 2, and then put your crochet hook into the second chain from the hook and bring up a loop, and then make a single crochet. And then you're just going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch back across. And then when you finish this first row, because remember this first chain is the starting chain, and so now we're making 1 single crochet in every stitch back across for the first row. So the stitch count for the first row is going to be 11 when you're finished. So this is how your work should look now. And now you should have a stitch count of 11, and we're going to maintain the stitch count for the next 3 rows. So you're going to chain 1 to move up to the second row, turn your work, and then you're not going to make a stitch into the base of the chain 1 stitch because that counts as your first stitch for this second row. Then you're going to go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, and then make a single crochet. And then you're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch back across. And when you finish this row, you should still have a stitch count of 11. So now we need 2 more rows with the stitch count of 11. So to move up to the next row, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and then just make 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet into every stitch back across. And then this is how your work looks so far. And now you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and then we're going to make our last row with a stitch count of 11. So you're going to go into the next stitch over, bring up a loop, and then make a single crochet. And you're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch back across, and then come back. So now I just finished that last row with a stitch count of 11, and this time you're not going to chain 1. you're just going to turn your work and then make a single crochet into the next stitch over. And because you didn't chain one, this first single crochet you made is your first stitch for this row. Then you're going to make a single crochet into the next stitch and one single crochet in every stitch back across. And when you finish this row, you should have a stitch count of 10 because we didn't chain one. So then, after you finish this row, you're not going to chain one again. You're just going to turn your work, and you're going to keep turning your work, and for each row that you make is going to decrease by one stitch until you've created a triangle. So now you're going to make a single crochet into the next stitch and one single crochet into the next stitch, and when you finish this row you should have a stitch count of 9. Then when you finish this row, again we have a stitch count of 9. You're just going to turn your work, go into the next stitch, and then just make one single crochet in every stitch back across, and when you finish this row you should have a stitch count of 8. So now you can see how you're starting to form a triangle. It's getting smaller and smaller. Each row is decreasing by one stitch. So go ahead, keep repeating this pattern where you turn your work and make a single crochet into the next stitch and then one single crochet into every stitch back across, and you should have a stitch count decreased by 1 from the previous row. So I had 8 stitches on the previous row, which means I'll have 7 stitches for this row. So go ahead, keep repeating this pattern until you get down to 1 stitch remaining. So this is how my work looks so far. You can see the nice triangle that I've created, and I just finished my row with 2 stitches remaining. Now I'm going to turn my work, and then into the next stitch I'm going to make a slip stitch. So you go right into that next stitch, bring up a loop. Actually, you're not going to bring up a loop, you're going to bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then go ahead and finish off, just yarn over and just bring enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then just cinch that knot down. So now I have one of the pink triangles finished, but you need to make 2 pink triangles, and you need 2 of the main color for your alpaca, which mine is Magnolia Way or a beige colored yarn. So go ahead, finish all of your triangles, and then come back. So now you want to take 2 of your triangles. I'm going to show you how to finish the ear. And I usually place the 2 triangles so that I have the 2 small loose yarn ends together where we started the triangle. And then I'm just going to go ahead and tie a knot. You have the pink color on top and the main color on the back. Then take your crochet hook, go right into the corner where you just tied your knot. You want the corner of both color triangles, and then just get your beige colored yarn, and then you're going to bring up a loop, and then go ahead and tie a knot with the loose yarn ends. Then you're going to go ahead and chain 1. And then I'm not going to bury my loose yarn ends. I'm just going to tuck them into the ear before I'm ready to sew them onto the alpaca head. Then you're just going to crochet the 2 ear pieces together with your beige colored yarn. And you're going to evenly space your single crochet stitches along the side of the triangle. And you're going to be crocheting the 2 pieces together, the pink and the beige colored yarn. So you just evenly space your single crochet stitches all along the side of the triangle until you reach the tip of the triangle. So when you reach the tip of the triangle, go ahead and come back, and then I'll work the tip of the triangle with you as we turn to the opposite side. So this is how my work looks so far, and then this is what it looks like on the other side. And now I'm at the tip of the triangle. So you want to take those loose yarn ends at the tip of the triangle and just tuck them into, sandwich them in between the two different colors. And then in the stitch right before the tip of the triangle, you're going to place 2 single crochet into the same stitch. Then you're going to go on the opposite side of the tip into the next stitch. Make sure you grab that back panel of the ear as well. And then you're going to make 2 single crochet into that stitch. And what that does is it helps to keep the tip of the triangle from curving or bending, so it will stay straight. Then you're ready to work down the opposite side, and you're going to evenly space your single crochet stitches, just 1 single crochet evenly spaced along the opposite side, and then that will finish crocheting the earpieces together. Then when you reach the bottom, this is what it looks like on the other side. You can go ahead, after you finish your last single crochet stitch, go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the ear onto the alpaca head. And then go ahead and repeat this with the other 2 ear panels, and then come back. So now you're ready to sew the ears onto your alpaca. So when you're sewing the alpaca ears on, you want to use the same colored yarn as the part that you're sewing. So I'm using my pink colored yarn to sew the pink portion, and then I use the beige colored yarn to sew the beige portion on the front and the back. So for my ears, for the right ear, I'm going to fold it so that the right ear, I mean when the alpaca is facing you. So on the right side, I should say. So you want to have the inner ear folded inwards, just slightly, about a couple centimeters, or however much that you want to fold yours in. And then for the other ear, the inner portion, you want to fold that portion in just like this, so that the ears will look like this on the alpaca. And then I usually use the safety doll eyes to help line up, and then I also use the magic circle on the top of the head. So I'm lining up my ears with the magic circle, and then I'm going out about 3 rounds. So here's the magic circle right here, and then you want to go out 3 rounds. So you have 1, 2, 3. So just outside the 3rd round is where I want to line up the ear. So I want it in line with the magic circle, and then just look and see the placement. So that should line up with the inner portion of the safety doll eye, or your eye that you made. And then once you have it lined up in place where you want it, then you can take your tapestry needle with the same colored yarn after you tucked in all of the loose yarn ends, and then just go in and then back up without poking yourself, and then just bring the loose yarn end up, and make sure you leave enough of a loose yarn end for tying a knot and burying in your work, and then just go back into the head and then out right where you went in. so you can tie a knot. Then after you tie a knot, go ahead and drop the yarn for now. You can always come back and finish sewing it more later. The initial stitch is just to hold it in place. Then you're going to take your tapestry needle and put it onto the long end that you left for sewing, and then you're just going to sew the other portion of the ear in place. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll come out on the head right where I want to line it up. I'm going to come a little bit forward. So you can see that I'm on the third round out and in line with the magic circle. And then you can take and grab the ear. So you just go right into the corner where the fold is. And then that positions the ear. And then, like I said, you can always go back and make more stitches. The initial stitches are just to hold the ear where you want it. Then you can just position the back of the ear the way that you want it, and then just finish sewing the back of the ear with the same colored yarn. So you can see how I make wide stitches, but you can go back across and make the smaller stitches if you need to. And you can sew it several times in the same, back across as many times as you need to. The initial stitches, like I said, are just to hold the ear and sew it in place the way that you want it on the alpaca. And you're going to sew the other ear on the exact same way. Make sure that they're symmetrical on both sides and that they line up and are in line so that you don't have one ear forward or one ear back or one ear crooked. So now when I'm finished sewing the beige portion down the way I like it, I usually end in the back of the ear, and then I just take and tie a knot. And then when I'm finished, I go right in where I tied my knot and then up into the ear. And then you want to make sure that you don't see that you didn't go in to the front, which I didn't go into the front. Then you just pull the loose yarn end through the ear, come out anywhere, and then just trim it. And then for the front, after you finish sewing down the front of the ear, you will repeat the same thing. So I tied my knot, and then I'm just going to go right in, right where I tied my knot, and then come out of the inner portion of the ear, making sure I'm not leaving pink in the back of the ear, and then just bury the loose yarn ends into the ear itself. So this is what my ears look like when I'm finished. And now you can take and finish stuffing the head and the neck completely. Make sure that you filled the head so that it's shaped the way that you want, and make sure that you don't overstuff. So if you can see through the gaps in the crochet work and see the craft stuffing, or it widens the gaps too much, then you've overstuffed. So you just want it enough to form the head and the neck. Then you're going to take the body and make sure you have the front facing the way that you want. If you're putting fur on the front, it won't matter, but if you're not placing fur on the front, then just make sure that you have the side that you want facing towards the front. So I'm having this side face towards the front, which is the side where I did not finish off. And then I'm going to take the head and I'm going to line up the head with the front of the body. So you want it flush with the front of the body. So there's going to be a slight curve where we made our increase rounds. So where those increase rounds end is where you're going to line up the front of the neck of the alpaca. And make sure that when you have the alpaca head in place that you take the nose, I'm going to try to show you, So the nose should be in line with the magic circle on the body. So you don't want the alpaca head turned this way or that way. You want the alpaca head facing straight ahead, and as you sew, make sure that you're always positioning the nose with the magic circle on the body. Now, as you sew, the first round you're going to have large gaps in it, because the first round, sewing the neck to the body, is just to secure the head in place so that it's not turning as you sew. So just keep that in mind as you're sewing the neck to the body, that the first round you're not going to hit all of the stitches. So you're going to make several rounds to secure the head to the body. And that first round is just to make sure that the nose is staying straight ahead and that you have it lined up where you want on the body. So then with my one hand I'm holding the neck in place, and then take your tapestry needle with the same colored yarn, and you can just go in and out with your tapestry needle all around the base of the neck, sewing the neck to the body. And then you can always add more stuffing when you get to the other side if you need a little bit more stuffing. So I just make small stitches on the side that's showing, or the right side, and then I make larger stitches on the wrong side, and I just go in and out for the first round and just secure the head in place. And then you also want to keep double checking and making sure that the alpaca nose is in line with the magic circle on the body. So now I'm back to almost where I started, and this is where you can add more craft stuffing if you need to into the neck. Make sure that you shape the neck after adding more stuffing, and that you're still facing, the head still facing the way that you want to before you finish sewing back to where you started. And then you're just going to keep making rounds, sewing the neck completely in place. Now if your head is too heavy and it's falling forward, mine's not falling forward, but if it was falling forward, there are two methods that I use to keep the neck straight. One of them is to just gently press down and make a wrinkle in the back, and then sew that down and secure it. But another method is when we place the fur, you can pull the fur and then tighten it that way. So if it's leaning just slightly forward, you can leave it for now, because when we attach the fur, you'll be able to pull the neck back slightly if you need to. So mine is staying pretty good at this point. I'm going to finish sewing all the way around, securing it to the body, and then I'm going to show you how to place the fur. So again, I usually join my yarn in the back when I need more yarn to help sew the head in place, and my head is nice and secure on the body. So then I tie my knots usually towards the back, and then once you're finished, just go in right where you tied the knot, and then just come out anywhere on the neck with your loose yarn end. Give it a gentle tug, and then just trim it. So now, before I start to make the feet, or show you how to make the feet, I'm going to show you how to make some of the fur for the head and for the neck. And this is part of the fun, where you can choose whatever color you want for the fur, or the design that you want for your own unique alpaca.